everybody. Welcome back to Purpose. I'm Molly, and if you're new, we are going through the Bible, reading these stories, and then seeing how they relate to our own lives because the Bible is like a blueprint to God. And that's our whole purpose on this earth, to get back to God. We think our purpose is all about our jobs and um, maybe even our families and money and our hobbies and what we like to do and all the stuff that we fill our time with. But in reality, our whole reason for being on this earth is to learn how to love and trust God, even though we can't see Him, even though things are hard, so that when the time comes to meeting face to face, we're going to know who he is. We're going to be able to hit the ground running. And that's what we want to do. So we're reading through these stories. And we've started a brand new book of the Bible. We've started the book of Joshua. And in the book of Joshua, this is historically accurate. It's a true story, so to speak, written around, I don't know, the 14th century BC. Some say maybe the 13th, who knows? But it was a long, long time ago. Moses is now dead, Aaron's dead. All the original people who started out on this journey from Egypt, where the Israelites were slaves, all the way to the land of Canaan, which really wasn't that far. I think it was like, I don't know, from Egypt to the land of Canaan, maybe like a 2 or 3 week journey. Took them 40 years. Not because they were being punished, but because God knew they just weren't quite ready for it yet. God knows the big picture. He knows what we need. He knows what's best for us, even though I like to think I know what's best for me. And I want things on my time and in my plan. We just have to learn how to trust God that those things that we really want and we're not getting, maybe He knows the big picture and He knows more than we know. So it took them 40 years, and none of the original people who started out from Egypt actually made it across the Jordan River into the land of Canaan, except for Joshua and Caleb. Everybody else who went across was born on the way. So, or maybe they were kids. No, I should say that. They were kids or they were born along the way, but they weren't adults when they left the land of Egypt. And in the wilderness, God had been protecting them. Remember, He went with them as a cloud by the day and fire at night, and they have the Ark of the Covenant where God lives, and that was protecting them. He's been feeding them every single day. He's been raining manna down on them, that little bread. He never stopped giving them food the whole trip. They never went hungry. Their shoes never wore out 40 days of walking. They never needed new clothes. God protected them. They were wrapped up in like a little God bubble for that 40 years. But now it's time to leave the wilderness, go out into the real world, so to speak. So it's kind of like little kids. They're wrapped up in a bubble of protection when they're young with their parents. But at some point, they've got to go out into the world on their own, and they're going to get knocked down, and it's going to be hard. But you just hope that they learned everything they needed to learn as kids so that they can thrive. And God told them, here's what He was teaching them as they were kids, so when they go out into this land, they can survive. Two things. Two things that they had to remember above all else. Love God, love each other. Love God, love each other, and teach your kids. You've got to love God, you've got to love each other, and you've got to teach your kids to do that. That's this big lesson. You can survive in the world if you love the one true God and you love each other and you teach your kids to do the same. So that was the lesson He taught them. The Bible gets a little tougher to read now because it just gets violent, and this was a violent time. Not like we're real peaceful now, But back in this day, there was a lot of warfare. Tribes were fighting tribes, and everybody was trying to get more land and more money and more stuff. Glad we're not that way today, huh? And so it gets a little bit harder to read. And I've said this before, but when you read the Bible, you can read it one of two ways. You can read it as, this is not fair, God. They do not deserve this. You better explain yourself. And when you read the Bible like that, you're thinking, I don't know if I can trust this God. I don't know if he knows the big picture. I don't know if he knows what he's doing. So you better explain yourself, God, because this doesn't seem right to me. Or you can read it trusting and having faith that God is all knowing, all loving, that he knows what's best for us. And if we have faith and trusting, even when things aren't going right, that we will be okay in the end. Now, that might be that we're going to be okay in heaven, you know, maybe we are gonna have a lot of hardships and we're all gonna die. So maybe life is not going to go quite the way we want it, but we have to trust God that in the end, in heaven, everything's going to be all right. And that's what the book of Joshua is basically all about. Trust God. Trust God. Have faith. Love God, love each other, teach it to your kids. So, in the very beginning here, in chapter 1, God's telling Joshua that just like I was with Moses, I'm going to be with you. This is chapter 1, verse 5. And it says, I will be with you. I will not fail you or forsake you. Be strong and of good courage. So trust in me, Joshua. I'm going to be with you just like I was with Moses. And that correlates actually with Hebrews chapter 13, 5. Oh, I just lost a bookmark. Lost all my bookmarks. Oh, well. In Hebrews, verse 13, chapter 5, it talks about this little blurb in Joshua. Keep your life free from love of money. Excuse me, and be content with what you have. So don't get caught all up in life and the rat race and your job and money and your stuff. Be content with what you have. For he has said, I will never fail you nor forsake you. So we can confidently say, the Lord is my helper. I will not be afraid, because what can man do to me? As long as I've got God, what can man do to me? So now if I can get back to Joshua, it's kind of neat the way the Old Testament connects with the New Testament and how those two things go together. And God tells him to meditate on this day and night, Joshua. Remember it day and night. And then he has a line here that I really love. It's chapter 1, verse 9. Be strong and of good courage. Be not frightened, neither be dismayed, for the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. So he's not saying things are going to be easy. Don't worry. There's nothing to be afraid of. You won't have to be scared. You're never going to get hurt or sick. He's saying, don't worry. I'll be with you. It's going to get hard. It's going to get scary. You're going to get hurt. You're going to get sick. You're going to get scared. But I will be with you. So I like that part. So it's time for Joshua to take the land. And God's telling him, get everybody ready. In 3 days, we're going across. And everybody needs to be prepared. They need to what's it called? Sanctify yourself. Get yourself, if you haven't been praying, start praying. If you've done something wrong, confess it. So Joshua decided to send some spies out into the land to see what it looked like, to see what they were up against. Now, Moses did the exact same thing. When they got to the Jordan River and they could see the land of Canaan on the other side, they left Mount Sinai. They traveled for like a week, week and a half. They got to the Jordan River. Moses sent spies across the river to go into the land of Canaan. Joshua was one of them, so was Caleb. When they came back, they had tons of food, just gobs and gobs of delicious looking food. And the people were like, woohoo, let's go. But all of the men except for Joshua and Caleb were like, you should see the people over there. They are so big and so strong, and they are fighters. They are warriors. We are not warriors. Who are we? We've been walking around eating food that God gave us. We can't even take care of ourselves. We are not going over there. We should go back to Egypt, back to being a pagan, back to our old ways. That's why they had to wander around the wilderness for 40 years to get their minds right, because they weren't ready to go into the land. So now Joshua's sending spies again. Are we ready this time? So he sends out the spies, and they go into the town of Jericho, right somewhere across the Jordan, and they went into a woman's house named Rahab. Rahab was a prostitute. She let these men into her house, knowing they were Israelites, and they went into her house and she hid them. And the men of Jericho came saying, hey, we heard two Israelites were in town and they went into your house. Where are they? And she was like, I don't know. They left before the city gates shut. Now, all these towns had a big wall around them. That's how they protected themselves from invading tribes. And they all had a big gate that took like several men to shut. So if you weren't out of the city when the gate shut, well, you're spending the night. And if you were outside the city when the gate shut, well, you're not getting in until the next day, because those gates are hard to open and close. They're not just going to do it for everybody. So she lied and said, they must have left the gates. I think they're on their way, far from here to the Jordan. You better go chase after them. So the men did. They chased right after them. And before the spies, the Israelites, went to bed, they were hiding up on her roof. She put stalks of flax. I don't really know what that is. Maybe it's like hay or something. I don't know. But it was some kind of food or something. And she hid him up there behind all of this. She went up and told him, hey, buddy, now I just saved your butts. You better do the same to me. When you and your forces come into this town, you remember me and my family. Don't be leaving us out in the cold to die, because I just saved your butts. And so she also told him, oh, I guess she hadn't quite had that little speech yet, but she told the men, we have heard what God did for you at the Red Sea, where he parted it, and you all just walked through on dry land. We've heard about this, and we are terrified of you. We will not fight you. We know that you have a very strong God that's watching out for you and protecting you. And that's where she says, you better be nice to me and my family, because I let you in here. And so the next day, or I mean that night, not the next day. So that night, the city gates are still shut. She let them, her house must have been right along that wall, and the other side of that wall, what you could get free, you were out of the city. So she let him over the wall, out a window, with a rope. She tied a rope to something. They climbed down the rope and they got away. The rope was red, said it was scarlet. It was a red rope. I don't know if that has anything to do with her being a prostitute or not. But they got down the rope and they told her, look, you hang that rope on your house in a window. And when our troops come in and we see that red scarlet rope hanging there, we're going to know that that's the house of Rahab, who saved us. And nobody inside that house will get hurt. But you better be in that house. If you're outside, you're on your own. But if you're in the house, you will be okay, which sounds a lot like Passover, where they had to put blood on the doorpost and the lintels. And when the angels of death saw the blood, they passed over the house, and the Israelites were saved way back in Egypt. Same principle. Scarlet rope hanging in the window. We'll know that this is Rahab's house, and we won't do anything to you, which is kind of cool. I'm sure that that rope being red somehow signifies blood or sacrifice or Jesus. I'm not really sure how that all goes together. But I do know this. If you go to the book of Matthew, chapter 1, with that big long genealogy, so and so, father of so and so, father of so and so, guess who is in that genealogy? Rahab. Rahab, the prostitute, is in the genealogy of Jesus. She is his great, great, great grandma. So Rahab is going to become the mom of Boaz. Boaz marries Ruth from the book of Ruth. They have a son named Obed. Obed has a son named Jesse. Jesse has a son named David. King David is Rahab's great, great, great grandson. Did I say Jesus was? Jesus is a lot more greats. But King David was Rahab's great, great, great grandson. And later, Jesus would be a mini great grandson of Rahab, the prostitute, which is pretty cool. So we will stop right there and we'll find out, do they get across? Do they enter the land of Canaan? Will Rahab and her family be okay? I don't know. We'll have to wait and find out. But I want to leave you with this. This is from Hebrews chapter 10, verse 35. Now, these people are going to have hardships, and it's not going to be easy for them. And God tells them all along, I never said it would be easy, but keep having faith, which can be hard to do when you're suffering. So in Hebrews chapter 10, verse 35, it says, do not throw away your confidence. Stay confident, which has a great reward. For you have need of endurance. We have to endure this life. We have to have endurance to keep going day after day and choosing to get up and get out of bed day after day when sometimes it's really hard, so that you may do the will of God and receive what is promised. We will have our promised land. We just have to have endurance and confidence that God's going to be there for us. Well, have a great day today, everybody. And when we come back, we'll find out what happened. Did they cross that River Jordan and finally reach the promised land? Bye-bye, everyone.